Noah Calloway grew up in a two-bedroom apartment on Birchwood Avenue in Raleigh, North Carolina with his father, Ben, a cat named Professor, and a wooden box his father had built from leftover cedar planks that sat on the shelf above Noah's desk and held every letter Noah had ever written. Ben Calloway was 34 years old when Noah was 6 and asking about addresses. He worked as a high school history teacher at Jefferson High and coached the junior varsity soccer team, and was the kind of father that other kids noticed when they came over for the first time, the kind that remembered names and asked real questions and made breakfast on Saturday mornings that took considerably longer than any breakfast needed to take, but which filled the apartment with a smell that Noah would carry in his memory for the rest of his life. Ben had not planned to raise Noah alone. Nobody plans that. But plans and outcomes have a complicated relationship, and when Noah's mother, Diana, left in the spring of Noah's 5th year, Ben had sat in the kitchen of their apartment for a long time after Noah was in bed and made the decision that a person makes when they understand that the available options are to fall apart or to show up, and that only one of those options helps a 5-year-old boy who needs his breakfast made and his stories read and his hand held crossing the parking lot. He chose to show up. He showed up every day after that with the consistency of a man who understood that consistency was the foundation of everything a child needed. What Ben had not expected, and what moved him in a way he would later struggle to describe accurately, was the letters. Noah had started writing them 6 months after Diana left, when the question about the address had produced Ben's careful, honest answer, and Noah had gone for his crayons with the purposeful calm of someone who has identified the appropriate tool for the task and intends to use it. The first letter was written in red crayon in the large, careful letters of a 6-year-old just learning to form them properly, on a piece of blue construction paper. It said, "Dear Mommy, I am good. I have a cat. His name is Professor. I lost a tooth. Dad says it is from the tooth fairy, but I think it is because I ate too many fruit snacks. I love you. Noah." Ben had read it when Noah was asleep. He had sat at the kitchen table with it for a long time. Then he had folded it carefully and put it in an envelope and written on the front, in his own handwriting, "Diana Calloway, wherever you are." He had mailed it to the last address he had for Diana, her parents' house in Asheville, for hours away, where she had gone when she left and from which she had departed again after 3 weeks for somewhere she did not share with anyone who shared it with Ben. The letter came back 6 weeks later. Return to sender. Addressee unknown. Ben put it in the cedar box. He did not tell Noah. The next Sunday, Noah asked if he could write another letter. Ben said yes. Noah wrote a letter every month. Not because Ben asked him to, not because it was scheduled or assigned or suggested. Because Noah had decided, in the practical way of certain children who have made their minds up about something, that this was what he did. It was as routine to him as brushing his teeth or feeding Professor. On the first Sunday of every month, after breakfast, Noah sat at his desk and wrote a letter to his mother. He wrote in crayons until he was 8, when he decided that crayons were babyish and switched to pencil, and then at 11 to blue pen, which he used for the rest of his writing years because he had read somewhere that important correspondence was done in blue pen, and Noah had decided his letters were important. He wrote about everything. He wrote about losing teeth, and then about getting braces, and then about getting them off. He wrote about Professor the cat, who lived to 17 and passed away when Noah was 14, and about the month after when the apartment felt wrong and he didn't write a letter because he couldn't figure out what to say, and then the following month he wrote twice as long to make up for it. He wrote about the soccer team and the history project and the book he had read that he thought she might like, and the birthday cake that Ben made every year that was technically a disaster structurally but tasted perfect. He wrote about the ordinary things with the same attention he brought to the significant ones, because he understood, somewhere in the part of him that wrote letters before he could understand why, that ordinary things were the real news. That the ordinary things were what she was missing. Ben mailed each letter. Not to the Asheville address anymore. That had stopped working after the 3rd return. Over the years he had tried carefully, honestly, not desperately but consistently to find a current address for Diana. He had tried through her cousin in Greensboro who was politely uninformative. He had tried through a mutual friend who had lost touch. He had tried, once, through a private investigator who had returned his money and said he was sorry. The trail went cold in Portland, Oregon 3 years ago, and there was nothing current. Ben mailed the letters anyway. He addressed them to Diana Calloway and wrote the last known address, which changed over the years as he found fragments of information. A forwarding address that lasted 8 months before returning the mail, a P.O. box that accepted 2 letters before going silent, a year when he addressed them to Diana Calloway, General Delivery, Portland, Oregon, because General Delivery was a real postal service and hope was a real thing, and Noah was 10 years old and writing letters in blue pen about his science fair project. Most came back. Some did not come back, which Ben chose to interpret as the best possible sign even when he had no evidence to support that interpretation. He put the returned ones in the cedar box. He let the unreturned ones go into the world and believe what they wanted. He never told Noah that most of them came back. He told himself this was protection. He told himself that Noah's belief in the letters was the point of the letters, not their delivery. He told himself that Diana, knowing her son was thinking of her if she ever got a letter, if any of them ever reached her, was worth something even in the absence of a response. He told himself these things late at night after Noah was asleep, sitting at the kitchen table. He mostly believed them. The year Noah turned 12, he asked his father a direct question. He came home from school on a Tuesday and set his backpack down and sat across from Ben at the kitchen table in a way that meant he had been thinking about something all day and had arrived at the point where it needed to be said. "Do the letters get to her?" he asked. "Are you actually sending them, or are you just letting me write them to make me feel better?" Ben looked at his son. 12 years old. Already knowing how to ask the question that needed asking. "I send them," Ben said. "Every single one. I have sent every single letter you have ever written. But do they reach her?" A pause. The kind Ben had learned to be honest inside of. "I don't always know," he said. "Sometimes they come back. When they come back, I keep them. I can show you." He got up. He took the cedar box off the shelf. He set it on the table. Noah opened it. He looked at the letters inside, the ones he recognized, in crayons and pencil and blue pen. The ones with the envelopes that had been returned, the red stamping on them, the various handwritings of postal workers in various cities marking them undeliverable. He was quiet for a long time. "Some of them didn't come back," Ben said. "Those ones I can't account for. They went somewhere." Noah looked at one of the returned envelopes. He looked at the red stamp. He looked at the handwriting on the front, which was his own from 3 years ago, the age 9 handwriting, rounder and less certain than it was now. "She's alive," Noah said. It was not a question. "Yes," Ben said. "As far as I know, yes. She's alive. She just doesn't, she's not." He stopped. "I don't know why," Ben said, before Noah could find the words for the question he was trying not to ask. "I genuinely do not know. I have thought about it many times. I don't have an answer." Noah closed the cedar box. "I'm going to keep writing," he said. "I know," Ben said. "Even if they don't get to her." "I know." Noah picked up the box. He carried it back to his room and put it on the shelf above his desk. He wrote his next letter the following Sunday. In blue pen. About the soccer team and a book he was reading and the fact that Professor had gotten fat. The year Noah turned 17 was the hardest. It started in September when a girl in his English class named Jordan asked him about his family for a class project on personal histories, and Noah answered the questions about his father and his apartment and Professor and said, almost in passing, that his mother had left when he was 5 and he didn't know where she was. Jordan had looked at him with the open, uncomplicated sympathy of someone who had not yet learned to be careful with their expressions, and Noah had looked back at her, and something about that look, the clarity of it, the UN-guardedness had hit him somewhere he hadn't expected. He went home and sat at his desk and looked at the cedar box. He did not open it. He just looked at it. He thought about 12 years of letters. 137 letters at that point. He had done the math. 137 letters to a woman who had not sent a single word back. Not a card. Not an email. Not a phone call. Not any indication, across 12 years and 137 letters, that she knew or cared that he was here. He thought about all the things he had written. About Professor and soccer and braces and history projects and the birthday cakes Ben made every year. About the ordinary things and the important things and everything in between. He thought, what if she got every single one and chose not to answer? He sat with that thought for a long time. It was not a new thought. He had handled it before in various forms. But at 17 it felt different, heavier, more settled, the way some thoughts change weight as you get older. At 6 it had been a question. At 12 it had been a complicated feeling. At 17 it was beginning to feel like a fact, and facts had a different weight than questions. He did not write a letter the first Sunday of October. He sat at his desk and opened the cedar box and looked at the letters and did not write. Ben noticed. Ben always noticed. He came to Noah's room on Tuesday evening and knocked on the open door and came in and sat on the edge of the bed in the way he had been sitting on the edge of Noah's bed to talk since Noah was 6 years old. "You didn't write on Sunday," he said. "No. You don't have to," Ben said. "You never had to. It was always your choice." "I know. But I want to say something and I want you to hear it the way I mean it, not any other way." Ben paused. He was a history teacher, he knew how to structure what needed to be said. Whatever is happening with your mother, whatever the reason is and whatever it means, those letters are not wasted. They are not wasted because you wrote them. Because you are the person who wrote them. Because every month for 11 years you sat down and wrote honestly about your life to someone who wasn't there, and that practice, that habit of honesty, of paying attention to your own life closely enough to report it, that's yours. That lives in you. Nobody can take that. Noah looked at the cedar box. "What if she never reads them?" he said. "Then they were for you," Ben said simply. "Then they were always for you." Noah was quiet for a long time. On Sunday, he wrote letter 138. He wrote about Jordan and the class project and the thing he had thought sitting at his desk and the fact that he had almost not written and then had. He wrote about what his father had said. He wrote, "I don't know if you get these. I don't know if you read them. I don't know why you haven't written back, and I have decided I am not going to spend my life making up reasons, because I don't know the reasons and making them up doesn't help. What I know is that I am here and I am okay and I have a good father and a fat cat, and I will keep writing because it is what I do and it turns out it is part of who I am." He sealed the envelope. He gave it to Ben. Ben mailed it the next morning. Noah turned 18 in March. Ben made the birthday cake chocolate, structurally compromised as always, perfectly delicious, and Noah's best friend Marcus came over and they ate it at the kitchen table, and Ben told an embarrassing story from Noah's childhood that Noah had specifically requested he not tell and told anyway, which was the tradition. It was, by every honest measure, a good birthday. On the first Sunday of April, Noah sat at his desk and wrote letter 144. He wrote about turning 18. About Marcus and the birthday cake and Ben's story. He wrote about the college applications he had submitted for universities, all in North Carolina, because he had decided he wanted to stay close to home, close to Ben, close to the apartment on Birchwood Avenue that had always been where he was. He wrote about wanting to study journalism, which had surprised Ben and not surprised him at all, because the thing Noah had been doing for 12 years, reporting honestly on his own life to an absent reader, was the foundational practice of every good journalist he had ever read about. He sealed the envelope. He addressed it to Diana Calloway, General Delivery, Seattle, Washington. The latest fragment Ben had found, 6 months ago, a mention in a public records document that suggested Seattle, nothing more specific than that. He gave it to Ben. Ben mailed it on Monday. 6 weeks later, an envelope arrived at the apartment on Birchwood Avenue. Ben found it in the mailbox on a Thursday afternoon when Noah was at school. He stood in the hallway of their building holding it. It was addressed to Noah Calloway. In handwriting he recognized the way you recognize something you haven't seen in a very long time, the shape of it familiar in a way that bypassed rational memory and went directly to somewhere older. Diana's handwriting. The return address was a P.O. box in Seattle, Washington. Ben stood in the hallway for a long time. Then he went upstairs. He set the envelope on the kitchen table. He made coffee he did not drink. He sat at the table and looked at the envelope until he heard Noah's key in the lock at 3:45. Noah came in. He set his backpack down. He saw the envelope. He went completely still. He looked at his father. Ben said nothing. He did not need to say anything. 12 years of context was in the room with them, and it did not require narration. Noah sat down at the table. He looked at the envelope for a long moment. He looked at the handwriting on the front, his name, in blue ink, in someone else's hand. He picked it up. He opened it carefully, the way he had always done things that mattered, without rushing, without tearing. He took out the letter. It was 3 pages. Handwritten. Blue ink, the same color Noah used, which neither of them had planned and which meant something anyway. Noah read it at the kitchen table while Ben sat across from him and looked at his own hands. He read it twice. Then he set it down. Ben looked at him. "She got them," Noah said. His voice was level. Controlled. The voice of someone managing something large by keeping their hands very still. Not all of them. She moved a lot. But she got some. She said she got the one from 2 years ago about Professor dying. She said she cried. Ben said nothing. "She's been sick," Noah said. "For a long time. Since before she left. She said she left because she was sick and she thought leaving was, she said she thought she was protecting us." He stopped. He looked at the letter. "She said she knows that sounds like an excuse. She said she's been in treatment for the past 3 years and she's been trying to find the words to write back for 2 years, and she wrote this letter 7 times and threw 6 of them away." He was quiet for a moment. "She said she read the letter I wrote in April. The one about turning 18. The one about journalism." He pressed his lips together. "She said she used to want to be a writer." Ben looked at the ceiling. "She said she doesn't expect anything," Noah said. "She said she sent it because she thought I deserved to know she was alive, and that she read the letters and that not writing back was the worst decision of her life, and she is sorry. She said she is more sorry than she knows how to say." He looked at his father. "She said you were a good father. She said she knew you would be, and that knowing that was the only thing that made leaving, she said it was the thing that made it possible." The kitchen was very quiet. The current professor, Professor 2, a grey tabby acquired 3 years after the first one passed, walked across the kitchen floor with complete indifference to the moment and sat by his bowl. Noah looked at the letter. He looked at his father. He looked at the letter again. "I don't know what I feel," he said honestly. "I feel a lot of things at the same time and I can't sort them out right now." "That's okay," Ben said. "You don't have to sort them out right now." I don't know if I'm angry. I think I might be. But I also..." He stopped. "You don't have to know right now," Ben said. "Take the time." Noah folded the letter carefully. He put it back in its envelope. He stood up and carried it to his room and put it in the cedar box that Ben had built from leftover planks when Noah was 6 years old, that had held 144 outgoing letters and now held one that had come back. He stood at his desk looking at the box for a long moment. Then he sat down. He picked up his pen. He began to write letter 145. He wrote back. He did not write back easily or quickly or with the uncomplicated warmth of a son who had simply missed his mother. He wrote back the way he wrote everything, honestly, carefully, in blue pen, reporting the actual state of things rather than the version that was easier. He wrote, "I got your letter. I've read it several times. I'm not going to pretend I know what I feel yet because I don't. But I've been writing to you for 12 years and I think you deserve a real answer, so this is mine." He wrote about what it had been like to write the letters. About the cedar box. About the Sunday mornings and the blue pen and the first Sunday of each month for 12 years. He wrote about the year he almost stopped and what his father had said that kept him going. He wrote about what the letters had done for him regardless of whether they reached her, how they had made him a person who paid attention, who reported honestly, who understood that ordinary things were worth documenting because ordinary things were the texture of a life, and a life without texture was not much of a life. He wrote, "I don't know if I can forgive you yet. I think I might be able to eventually. But I need time and I need honesty, and if there's going to be anything, it has to be honest. I'm a journalist's mind living in a journalism student's body, and I cannot work with things that aren't true." He wrote, "I have a good father. I want you to know that I know that, and I'm grateful for it. Whatever else happened, that part was right." He mailed it to the P.O. box in Seattle. 3 weeks later, a letter came back. Diana Calloway wrote in the same blue ink. 3 pages again, then 4, then sometimes 2 when she was having a harder week. She wrote about the illness depression that had arrived in her mid-20s and built into something larger before she had the vocabulary to name it or the access to treat it. She wrote about the years of managing it badly and the decision to leave, which had seemed, in the particular logic of untreated illness, like the merciful thing, the protective thing, the one unselfish act she could manage. She wrote about Portland and then Denver and then Seattle and the treatment program that had finally, after 3 years, given her something resembling stable ground. She wrote about reading the letters she had received, not all of them, she was honest about that, some had missed her during the moving years. But the one she had read she described in detail. She remembered specific sentences. She had kept them, she wrote. She had a box of her own. She did not ask for forgiveness in any of the letters. She had said she was sorry in the first one, and she did not repeat it because she understood, from Noah's response, that he was a person who needed actions more than repetition. So she showed up in her letters the way he showed up in his, honestly, regularly, with the ordinary things and the significant ones given equal weight. She wrote about what she did now. She worked at a bookshop in Seattle. She was learning to paint. She had a therapist she had been seeing for 3 years named Dr. Anna, who had, she wrote, probably saved her life in the most mundane and consistent way possible, which was by showing up every Tuesday. Noah read each letter at the kitchen table. Sometimes he read them to Ben. Sometimes he kept them to himself. Both were acceptable, and Ben made this clear without needing to say it explicitly. By the time Noah left for UNC Chapel Hill in August, they had exchanged 9 letters. He packed the cedar box in his dorm room supplies. They met in person the spring of Noah's sophomore year. Diana flew to Raleigh. Not to Noah's university. They had agreed, in a letter exchange that had taken 2 months to navigate, that the first meeting should be on ground Noah knew, not neutral ground, not Diana's ground. Noah's ground. Ben drove Noah to the airport. He parked. He walked in. Noah had asked him to come. They stood in the arrivals hall, the same kind of arrivals hall that is in every airport, with the same coffee smell and the same anxious energy of people being found. Diana came through the doors with a carry-on bag and shorter hair than her photographs, and the look of someone who has prepared for something very carefully and is now inside the moment, realizing that no amount of preparation covers the actual thing. She saw Noah. Noah had his father's height and his mother's eyes, which was something Diana had not fully anticipated encountering in 3 dimensions, and she stopped in the middle of the arrivals hall the way people stop when something hits them harder than they expected. Noah walked to her. He was 20 years old, and he had written 161 letters, and he had read 53 responses, and he had spent 2 years building something careful and honest on paper, and now he was walking through an airport arrivals hall toward the person those letters had always been for. He stopped in front of her. They looked at each other. Diana said, "Hi, Noah." Noah said, "Hi." There was a moment, the kind of moment that has all of 12 years in it, all the letters and the cedar box and the first Sunday of every month and the red crayon and the blue construction paper and Ben sitting at the kitchen table reading "I Have a Cat and I Love You" and the returned envelopes with their red stamps and the Sunday Noah almost didn't write and the April letter about turning 18 that had finally come back. All of that in one moment, in an arrivals hall in Raleigh. Then Noah put his arms around his mother. She held on. Ben, standing 30 feet back, put one hand over his eyes. They stood like that for a long time. Around them the airport moved and hummed and people streamed past in every direction, the ordinary extraordinary business of people arriving and departing and finding each other in the spaces between. After a while, Noah stepped back. He looked at his mother. "I want to show you something," he said. He had brought the cedar box. It was in the car. He had not known until this moment that this was the right thing to bring, but he knew now. "Okay," Diana said. He turned and looked at his father. Ben was composed now, or close enough. He walked to them and stood and looked at Diana, whom he had not seen in 15 years. "Thank you," Diana said to him. Quietly. Just those 2 words. Ben nodded. He looked at his son. "Let's go home," he said. They went. Noah Calloway graduated from UNC Chapel Hill with a degree in journalism 3 years later. He wrote his senior thesis on the practice of personal letter writing as a developmental tool in children navigating parental absence. It was partially autobiographical. His advisor told him it was the most honest piece of long-form writing she had read from an undergraduate in 20 years of teaching. He framed the title page and gave it to Ben for Christmas. He also gave a copy to Diana, who was still in Seattle, still at the bookshop, still seeing Dr. Anna on Tuesdays. He flew to Seattle that Christmas, the first time he had visited her there, the first time he had been in the city that had been a P.O. box number for 2 years and was now a place where his mother lived, and where the apartment was small and the bookshop was 3 blocks away, and the view from the kitchen window showed a slice of Puget Sound if you stood at the right angle. They had coffee in her kitchen. He stood at the window and looked at the water. "Do you still write letters?" she asked. He thought about it. "Not the same way," he said. "But everything I write, every article, every piece, it has the same feeling. The same thing underneath it. I'm still just reporting honestly about what I see to someone who needs to hear it." Diana looked at her coffee cup. "I needed to hear it," she said. "Every single one. Even the ones I didn't get, I needed them to exist. Does that make sense? I needed to know you were out there writing them." Noah looked at the water. "Yeah," he said. "I think that's why I kept going." The cedar box sat on the shelf above Noah's desk wherever Noah moved, from the apartment on Birchwood Avenue to the dorm room at Chapel Hill to the first apartment he rented on his own after graduation in Durham, North Carolina, where he got a job at a regional paper and covered local government and human interest stories with equal seriousness. 161 outgoing letters and 53 responses. He never did the math on whether it was worth it. He understood, by that point, that some equations don't have numerical answers. What he knew was this: a boy had sat at a kitchen table at 6 years old with a red crayon and a piece of blue construction paper and decided that someone who was far away should know he was here. And that decision, that ordinary, small, 6-year-old decision, had made him a person who showed up in writing, who paid attention, who believed in the importance of reporting the true state of things even when the audience was uncertain and the response was absent. It had made him a journalist. It had made him a son. It had made him someone who understood, in the way that only comes from practice, that the act of reaching out is not diminished by the silence that sometimes answers it. You reach out because reaching is what love does. You write the letter because the letter needs to exist. You keep going because stopping helps no one, and the person on the other end of those words, wherever they are, whatever they're carrying, might need to know that somebody out there is still reaching. Put the pen to the paper. Write the letter. It may take 12 years. But some things come back. If Noah's story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to be reminded that some things are worth the long wait. Subscribe to Tale Vera for more stories about love, patience, and the extraordinary things that happen when people refuse to give up on each other. Leave a comment below. Have you ever written a letter that took years to reach someone? Or received one that changed everything? Tell us. Your story belongs here too.